Hi, I'm Andrea Claire, and this is my podcast. My guest today is Katrina Anne Willis, an award-winning author and essayist whose work has been featured in the New York Times, the Huffington Post, and numerous anthologies, tackling everything from the fierce power of female friendship to the heavy weight of grief. She is fresh off the release of her brand new, deeply personal memoir, Hurricane Lessons, revealing hug-slap relationships and how Katrina, coming out in midlife to her husband and children, led her to be the unexpected warrior for herself and others. Katrina, welcome to the Fuck You 50s.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
And I've been reading your story, and I guess before we kind of jump into that, maybe just a little background. I know this is a memoir, so this story is about you. Like, are you a writer by trade?
I studied English in college, and I've always been a writer. I wrote my first little book when I was 8 that my mom saved for me, which is such a treasure I love. And my first actual book was published in 2016. It was a novel. And I've been in a lot of anthologies and published by Huffington Post and the New York Times. But this is my first memoir.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on that. And that, when was your release date?
April 7th, but my audiobook just released today.
I saw that. I saw on your thread. So congratulations for that.
Thank
Very
you.
exciting. And so I had a question as I was reading it. Have you changed names, or is everybody's name as they are?
No, they're all changed. The way that I had to do that was to make sure that everybody had the same first letter so I could keep them straight.
Okay, that's handy.
Yeah.
So okay, that's good to know. I don't know how to word this without sounding awkward. So please, anytime I say anything that's like not appropriate or insensitive, like please tell me. I just feel like there's so many women out there that maybe have the same journey as you, or just don't feel heard, or they're struggling maybe with their own sexuality, and I feel that having someone that is so out there and open, and that is, okay to talk about it, I think that's fantastic. I don't know if I would say brave. Like, I feel like that's probably a common term that people would say, but how do you feel about all that?
Well, I feel honored, first of all, to be your first gay person on the podcast. And it's amazing to me, since I've come out and written the book, how many other women who have said, I have felt the same way, or this is also my journey. When I was first questioning, and I don't know if you've gotten to the part of the book yet where my then husband and I really struggled with, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? Like, how are we going to navigate this? I joined an online group of women called the Lilies, and they're late in life lesbians, people who came out later in life. They've disbanded now, but it was the most powerful support group. Just to have that other voice saying, oh my gosh, me too, right? And so there was lots of discussion about how people navigated the situation and how they eventually came out to their family and friends and their children. And because it's obviously pretty complicated once you've established a family and have children and, are living this life that you thought was going to be your life forever. So
it's a bit of an upheaval, I guess, for everybody, right? So I have I have 3 daughters. My middle daughter is a lesbian. I have a younger sister who's a lesbian, and so they came out earlier. My younger sister came out when she was, I think, still in high school, and I would imagine that it's a big thing for you because it's your life. It's about you, right? And that obviously I feel is important, but you're also a mom. So how were the kids for you?
the kids were great. They were great. I'm sure there were struggles. I know there were struggles, right? My daughter, I remember, I'll never forget her saying, I never wanted to be one of those families. And for her, it was more about the divorce and us like splitting apart than it was about me coming out. She actually came out around the same time too. So she was a little bit earlier than me. So she was 14-ish and came out as bisexual. But my kids were all a little bit older. Like my oldest was in college and my youngest was in high school. So we didn't have the whole, like, how are we going to manage this? We just had a couple of years that we had to manage with the youngest at home. And I think it's probably harder for people with younger kids to like reestablish that whole family structure. My kids were very understanding. They're great. They're all adults now. They're wonderful, living their, authentic lives. And I think the most important thing that I could have taught them was that if you're in a situation that isn't the right one for you, it's okay to make a
Mhm.
change. Yeah. So
Yeah. Absolutely. And I feel like kind of messaging is 100% across the board. It's like, regardless of like sexuality or whatever, like like I was married once before, and that marriage was not happening for me, so I decided that I was going to focus on my kids and my career, and then met another man, and I wasn't even looking. It just kind of happened. And I just think that, yeah, I was not happy originally with my first marriage. So definitely, I think that's also a great takeaway. Like, here, it's just like, you have to be like, I know it's such a cliche, like, life is so short, really, and we have to be happy with who we are and what we're doing, you know?
it's true. It's true. And who wants a mom that's unhappy or a dad who's unhappy? He's remarried. He's happy as he could be right now. I think that as hard as it was to get through it all, it's so much better for all of us on the other side.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And you guys were kind of high school, like, quote unquote sweethearts too, right? So
we were. We
when you were in your relationship with your husband in high school, like, were you like, did you feel that you were bisexual, or were you, do you think that you were like lesbian and you're just kind of struggling with it? Or did you have any, like, how did you feel back then? Do you remember?
Of course, yeah, I remember very clearly because he was the first boyfriend, the true boyfriend that I had, and he was a year younger than me. He pursued me very strongly, and I finally was like, "Okay, I will go out with you one time if you'll stop asking me out." Right? I was a big athlete. I was a three-sport athlete. That was more about what my life was all about than dating, or I wasn't really interested in dating, period. Um, but looking back, I had so many crushes when I was young. I had crushes on camp counselors, and I just thought those things were normal, right? Like every girl has girl crushes or whatever, but it all made much more sense looking back. And it's funny too, because my former husband always said to me, if you're going to leave me, you're going to leave me for another woman. I just know it. There was something that he felt. There was something that I felt when I came out. I had cousins and friends who said, we're not surprised. We've always known. And I was like, why didn't anybody tell me? That would have been helpful information to know.
They were letting you figure it out on your own. Yeah, when my sister came out to me, I was like, well, I could tell when you got a mullet when you were like 7 years old. So
I had a bullet too. I'm growing one now.
of course, I was just like bugging her as her older sister, but yeah, but yeah, people, I guess, have to come to that conclusion on their own, of course.
I was raised very Catholic. I went to Catholic school in a small Midwestern town, and there just was no representation or language even for what being gay meant or was. I didn't have any models. I didn't have any discussion around it. Like if people were gay back in the 70s, we just didn't really talk about it. At least we didn't in my small town.
Yeah.
Gay was a joke back then. It was funny, you're so gay, or the slurs were funny versus anything that we truly discussed. And so I just didn't even have the language to kind of name who I was.
I grew up in a small town as well, like Cambridge, Ontario, and always, like, I was a new waiver. I'm 55 now, and and it is interesting because, like, there was definitely a lot of gay people in my peer group, like, community, and I feel, but I'm coming from a perspective of a straight woman, I feel we were very accepting and open, and it was almost like I feel like nobody really cared. But again, like, that's my perspective, right? There definitely, of course, there were the slurs that are not appropriate now, that probably should not have been appropriate then either. I remember being underage and going to underground, like, drag clubs and stuff in Cambridge I didn't even know existed, that I went with a bunch of friends, like warehouse parties and things. And so I feel that my experience younger to that broader community, but again, I mean, I kind of just said it. It was all underground too, right? It wasn't just part of normal society, which is how it should have been.
Yeah.
I feel that, again, as I was reading your book, and I don't know if this was your intention, but I feel like not only were you kind of like a warrior for yourself, but it seems like a strong warrior for other people that can be reading the book, that you can kind of give them, I don't know, is it a bit of a roadmap for them to come out as well?
Well, thank you for saying that because yes, like that is my intention is definitely to make someone else feel less alone. And obviously my journey is not going to be anybody else's journey, but to look at someone else and say, okay, she did it and she made it to the other side. You know, she had a family, she had this life, she had children. She thought this was going to be her life forever and then suddenly it wasn't. Um and I think that just having somebody else go through it and talk about it is just so important. Just to have peers and conversation in
Yeah.
life in general.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's interesting too, and maybe because I am a hairstylist, and so a lot of people confide in me. I had a client in Singapore who told me that she had had relationships with women, married a man, happily married to a man, but she said most people would probably classify her as being bisexual, but she never saw herself as that. She just said that I'm attracted to both men and women, and I just figured I would marry who I fell in love with, and who I fell in love with happened to be a man. And I thought that was an interesting perspective as well. And I have had another woman um, ask me if I thought she was gay because she was attracted to a female firefighter. Like, it's funny how people come to me with these things because I'm like, I'm not, like, I'm, I'm not the metric on this, and I'm definitely not an expert whatsoever. But and then I had a model that I worked with who was from one of the neighboring Asian countries to Singapore, who was there on a modeling contract, and she told me that she was gay, and she wanted to come out to her family and didn't know how. And did I have any suggestions for that? And again, I'm like, thank you that you're confiding in me. I don't know.
You're obviously one of those people that feels safe, I'm sure. Like that
Yeah,
they
yeah.
open up to you.
I'm definitely not a judgmental person whatsoever, but it's definitely one of those things too that, like, whatever it is that you need to share with your family, it's probably better to maybe not ask a hairstylist and ask a counselor.
There was a woman in the group that I was in who said people often said, "How do I know if I'm really gay? Like, how do you know?" And she said, "Straight women don't stay up at night wondering whether or not they're gay." And I was like, "Okay, that's a really good kind of baseline, that definitely resonated." So I was like, "Okay, this is all starting to make sense and come together now."
One of your book reviews for Hurricane Lessons, it's mentioned that your story lands at a cultural tipping point when women are questioning the lives they've been told to accept and daring to reclaim who they truly are. And as I read your book, it just seemed like at the core, there was a woman in midlife struggling to understand and find her happiness and place in the world, which many listeners and guests relate to, and others take steps, to further being a warrior for themselves or others, which brings me back to my point earlier that I feel that that's kind of like the call out to me that I kind of heard from your book was that you're essentially a warrior for others.
Yeah, no, I think that's a wonderful thing to be. And I think women at our age, whether it's always been coined a midlife crisis, right? Once we've gone through the steps of having a family or not having a family and raising children or not raising children, or we get to this point in our lives when we're like, okay, am I in the career that I wanted to be in? Like this is the time of our lives when it's more about us than it is about caring for others, I think, for a
Yes.
lot of us. And so we question a lot of things. Am I with the partner that I want to be with? Am I in the job that I want to be in? What's going to make me happy? Life is kind of, creeping up on us and we can't mess around anymore. We
Yeah.
have to take it by the horns. Yeah.
Absolutely. This also leads into when I was reading your book, and one of your quotes, you're talking about your husband. You said, he told me once that he resented me not welcoming him home with open arms, that he needed me too, but I also needed me, which I also felt that this quote really illustrates the exhaustion of emotional labor that women often find themselves to. So kind of what you were just mentioning, and that we become this sandwich generation where we're balancing the needs of our aging parents, our growing children.
It's very true. The emotional labor is a big thing in my life and in the book as well, because I had 4 kids within 5 years. So I had all of these babies at one time, and my then husband was getting his master's degree and then his doctorate degree, and we made these choices together. It wasn't like he forced me to stay at home. I mean, but I also kind of subconsciously made them. This is what everyone was doing. This is what I was kind of expected as a wife and mother. So I put my career on the back burner. Like I took care of the kids, and then it was harder than I thought it could ever possibly be. I was exhausted all the time. I can barely remember some of those days because it was just a lot of physical and mental and emotional labor. So, and he was one of the good guys, right? One that would change diapers or make dinner, or, he did contribute, but he just wasn't around very much. He was building his career and doing the things that I really didn't have the opportunity to do because I was raising the kids.
I think as well, like as mothers, we kind of fall into that as well, putting our careers on hold or trying to balance working with maybe doing some stuff from home while our kids are growing up. Because a lot of times too is I understand not everybody breastfeeds, but it's also like women are breastfeeding, so they're not able to take that time to go back to work. Also, it's like financial, like not everybody has family close by that can help out with the children or can afford nannies or sending the children to preschool or whatever. So there's all these, I feel like, dynamics that do affect us when we're younger as women. And then as we get older, yeah, I mean, men have a midlife crisis as well. So it's either they get a sports car or a toupee and a younger woman, um, where we are like kind of like putting the brakes on, thinking like, what the fuck? What have I been doing all this time? And it's not like we regret, obviously. I guess maybe some of us do. So I don't want to take away from that either, because hey, if you regret certain things in life and you're listening to this, it's okay to also regret things in life, right? But I think that I feel like I'm at that now. Like I'm a hair and makeup artist. Like I said, I just turned 55. There's a lot of ageism in my industry. I've recently got into comedy doing improv, and I also see ageism in that as well. And it's just kind of like why does this happen to women? I feel like I don't want to make it men versus women. Like I know that men have their struggles as well, but I feel like it's my podcast, so it's about us. But
Right. Well, and we're in a patriarchal structure. I mean, we just are. We have
yeah,
been for forever, really. Like we have always been patriarchal. I'm saying we always. Obviously, if you go back lots of years, there are matriarchal structures too, and I think we could strike a better balance. I mean, this
yeah,
country does do a very good job either of supporting women and supporting mothers and supporting women aging in the workplace, and we could do a whole lot better.
yeah.
And we just haven't.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting too that again, to kind of put it back to sexuality. So we were living in Singapore, right? And in Singapore, they just repealed their law, like their 377A, which was it was criminalizing sex between men. And so they repealed that, but they never had a law, like there was not criminal with women like sex with like lesbianism. Is that like the right
Yeah,
term? Oh my
that's
god.
fine.
So sorry. And it's funny because like at the time, like when we were living there, people were just like friends of mine that were Singaporean, and they were just like, oh, it's because politicians wanted to be able to have a threesome. And I'm like, is that really what it was? But then I was diving into it because I was like, that seems just superficial. And like, is that just somebody trying to make a joke? I don't know. But then it also, it's more about, I think, from when I was doing some research, is like the legal and social invisibility of women. And do you think that the invisibility of women over the years has had an impact on women? I mean, not even just in general, but like sexuality, because we're kind of put in this, you know, hidden, don't talk.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it absolutely has. And, men carry on their family names and they have all of those roles in life. And what do we have? We're the childbearers and the nurturers. And I think women who step out of that or who don't choose to marry and have children are often looked at as the outsiders, as the, outliers. And I hope that it's getting better. I don't know. I feel like this country is regressing in so many ways right now. But
Yeah.
I hope that eventually we get back on track and recognize that women contribute just as much or more. It's crazy to me that we give birth to everyone. We bring every human into the world and then we're just relegated to these roles that men have established for us. And
Yeah.
now this is just becoming a highly feminist rant, but that's me too. So I,
No,
you
but
know,
I also I agree with you, and I think that we need more allies. Um, I wanted to ask you too about your character, Cecilia. I thought it was interesting the how you said that she was the queen of the hug slap that would boost your ego 1 second and then cut you to the core the next. And I've had a lot of people in my life like that. Not just other women, but it's interesting that and I'm sorry, I don't know if you see it this way too, but like that toxicity, right? And it's yeah, it's funny for me. I found my interior monologue took me places questioning my role in the narcissistic behavior. And this was exactly how they were, the hug slap. I personally have no space in my life anymore for these types of people. Definitely have cut ties with many people that have done that to me. And hopefully they just came in to teach us something. And that being said, are you still friends with Cecilia? And what did that teach you from your, I mean, I know you had a sexual relationship with her as well, but did you have a takeaway from that relationship?
Oh, yes, I had millions of takeaways from that relationship. And no, we are not in contact anymore. Toxic is the word that I use to describe it, like you did. I what When you come out later in life, Cecilia is what you call a catalyst or what the community calls a catalyst. It's someone that changes the way that you think and you see yourself differently. I mean, I was obsessed with her. She was this larger than life figure who lived this bold, energetic life of traveling and adventure. And I was very drawn to that. I was very drawn to her. I was very physically attracted to her. And then she could also be incredibly cruel, right? And so there was this constant push and pull and push and pull. And eventually it just wore me down. But for a while, there was a lot of excitement in that and a lot of adventure. And um she is the one who made me realize who I was. Like, it was truly like a lightning bolt that day on the Pilates reformer when I thought, whoa, these feelings are feelings that I've never really felt or explored before. And she always said that she was straight. She would never admit that she was not, even though we talked about having a life together. I knew none of that would ever happen with her. But
Yeah.
yet, like, living in that space for a while was critical to who I became. I mean, I will always be grateful to her in some capacity because she kind of showed me who I was, but she is not a part of my life and won't ever be again.
Yeah. Are you in a relationship now?
I am. Yes. Yes. And the lovely thing about being in a female relationship is the kindness and softness. And that's not true for every relationship. I mean, there are lesbian relationships that can be awful and volatile as well. But it's very important for me when I choose a partner to choose someone who is soft and kind and easy. That's the life that I want to lead, and so that's the partner that I choose as well. Um,
Yeah, you want someone in your life that's gonna, like, lift you up and support you. In this day and age, it's really not that it's not too much to ask, you know?
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And just kindness. Kindness is so important to me. There were we're all multiple layers of lots of things, right? We as humans, and my former husband had a lot of great qualities, but he could also be really harsh and really um just kind of cruel and kind of mean and cutting, and that accumulates in your life. And finally you're like, phew, I'm not going to take it anymore. And when I came out to my mom, who was in a nursing home at the time, my sweet mom, she said, ultimately, like after a few conversations, she said, I never liked the way he talked to you. I never liked the way he treated the kids. She said, I'm really glad that you're out of that situation. And I was like, oh, it was so hard for me to think that my mom would support a divorce, and she did. And, it was a lovely
Yeah.
thing to know.
Yeah. Were you a latchkey kid as well or no?
Yeah.
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 Because I think that was our generation, right? I feel like as women and all the women that I've had on my podcast, we all seem to kind of have that same like energy of like an inner strength. I feel like it takes a while for us to find it. And maybe that's also part of the whole fucking 50s. It's like where it's just, I'm not putting up with this bullshit like anymore. It's mm,
I always knew
yeah,
there was like this little feral warrior inside of me, but I kind of like tucked her away for a long time and led the life that I thought I was supposed to live and did the things that I thought I was supposed to do. But I was a feisty, fiery latchkey kid.
yeah,
I fought with the boys and played basketball with the boys, and I just, and then I somehow kind of lost that for a while, that
yeah,
fire within me, and this has given that back to me. So
yeah,
we think about the fact that at our age, our hormones are going crazy again, right? And like, we're like, what the fuck is this all about? The night
yeah,
sweats and the can't lose weight and our metabolism dies. And so it makes sense, doesn't it? That
yeah.
our hormones at this age are causing us to like rearrange our lives and rethink who we are. And
I've read a couple people, and I know they're just trying to be funny, but they're saying it's like puberty in reverse. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. It's its own it's its own thing, and for all of us, it's so like it's that's why I find it so fascinating because I feel like puberty is kind of like a map, like and it's been a while since I was there. But it seems to be very like similar. Everyone has like similar experiences. Some might get acne, some might not. But other than that, it seems very like, you go through it and then it like plateaus, I guess. And then, you move on. But I find with us, it's like you talk to so many different women and just like like perimenopause and menopause, like symptoms are so fucking crazy. It's like, I don't know if you've experienced it, but like some things that people have told me that like they suddenly have like crazy itchy ears. And I'm like, itchy ears, like that's like, I haven't had that. I mean, I've had a fucking insane itchy vulva. Let me tell you that that's like,
same, same. What is that all about? And it took
so
me the longest time to connect it. I'm like, oh, this is what's happening. I'm 56. And
So I don't know if you know this, and I just learned this recently from one of my other podcast guests, but there is such a thing as a vulva dermatologist.
oh, geez.
What the fuck? That's weird. So I immediately got in touch with my GP and said, please get me a referral there. But what's insane is it's like 6 months, 6 to 9 months waiting list. And I'm like, great. In the meantime, I'm taking antihistamine just so I can sleep at night. Like it's insane.
Oh,
And it could be all kinds of crazy things. There's a thing called uh oh my God, I'm so dumb. I'm
no,
not
it's
gonna
the other
blow that
thing that
into
happens in our 50s. Like the brain fog is real.
Yeah, we'll take that. I'll say it's brain fog. It's like something like lichen sclerosis, something like that. It's like it. So you can literally have this in your vulva area where it's an autoimmune disorder where you just suffer through the itchiness through the rest of your life. In order for them to diagnose it, they need to do a biopsy. But you can also have vulva cancer. Of course, my head immediately goes right there,
Course.
right? 'Cause
Right. We all do. We all do. I just read the other day that your labia can just shrink up and become nothing. And I'm like, why isn't anybody talking about that? Like these
yeah,
are
I didn't
things
know that
we
either.
should have more conversations about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the other thing that bugs me, of course, is then you get back to like the capitalism and people like making money off of it, right? But about like perimenopause and menopause, it's like all these people that are selling like their creams or like get this vitamin or like whatever. And hey, a lot of companies know that we're willing to spend the money, but I'm so cautious now. It's like if my doctor says get this, I'm gonna get it. If if I talk to a friend and we have something that's quite similar, maybe I'll get it. But if it's some random person selling something online, I'm like, I think I might pass. And it's hard to, I don't know about you, but it's like there's a lot of these menopause coaches out there. No offense to anybody listening if you're a menopause coach, but there's so many. My husband's an executive, so we talk about this, about the difference between, like, there's so many executive coaches, and like that's one thing, and but there's some coaching programs where you can literally learn to be a coach in 6 weeks, and I'm like, and then you're selling your vitamins from your website. Like, I have I'm 55 and jaded on so many things.
Other thing, the flip side to that for me is that I've been in the tech industry as a writer for 30 years and I'm aging out. I can't find jobs anymore. Nobody wants to hire a 56-year-old woman when they can hire a 28-year-old for half the price, right? And so I'm like, I still have a lot of years left to work. So what am I going to do? I mean, I don't know. So kudos too to women who are aged out of the workforce and come back and create something for themselves.
You know what? That I have to say that that's a really good perspective. Yeah, I agree. For sure. Yeah, it is interesting how there's a lot of women, unfortunately, that are experts in their fields that, like you say, they just kind of for some reason lose out to the younger generation. And again, yes, I do understand that it happens to men sometimes as well, but not as much as us. I feel like it's a struggle for us to get into the workforce, or you take time off to have kids, and it's like, well, why is there this hole in your resume? It's like, because I'm a mom, and that's held against you. Um, and then age is held against you. This is another thing that kind of bugs me about the whole terminology about, like, the Karens. I've thought about that for a while, and I feel like it's like the whole Karen thing is like middle-aged women, because that's who it's like the whole Karen is focused on. And yeah, I get that there's extremes. So I'm not saying the extremes, but I feel like anything, and like if you're like, sorry, like you go to a coffee shop, sorry, like, can you just remake this? It's not hot enough or whatever. It's like, oh, don't be such a Karen. Like everything is just like, it's like, so we're being pushed back into being silent and invisible because we're also like afraid to be called a Karen, where it's like, again, the extremes aside, we should be able to speak up for ourselves, but we're constantly silenced.
We are. And that's, I think, also the beauty of the 50s. Like, I just am like losing all of my give a fucks. I just, I kind of am. And that's never been who I am. I've been kind of quiet and I'm an acquiescer. Like, I do what I'm supposed to do. I want to be well liked. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck it. Right. Like,
Yeah.
if my coffee's cold, I paid for it. And you don't have to be a
Yes.
jerk about it, but like, we should be able to speak up for ourselves. But you're right. There's a lot of silencing of women for sure, too.
Hopefully people will share this podcast and then they'll smarten up.
Exactly. And we'll save the world.
Exactly. One fuck you 50s episode at a time. uh, um, is there anything that you feel that we miss or you want to talk about? I want to make sure that we cover everything. And
No, I'm very appreciative to have this conversation today. And, what I want to do with Hurricane Lessons is just get it into the hands of the people that might need it or that it might make a difference for. So every time I get to talk about it, makes me super happy, and maybe it'll reach somebody that might not have heard of it before. And it was also a lovely conversation to have with you. It was great to meet
yeah,
you.
it was so lovely to meet you as well. And I hope I was respectful and that I didn't use any inappropriate
I
language.
don't even know. I'm still new to all of this lesbian thing. So
You're like, fine for me.
I started out, gay was the easiest thing for me to say. And I don't know why. Lesbian was really hard word for me. And now I talk about the queer community, but a lot of younger kids, I think, identify as queer. I think it's all kind of generational and preference, but I get it. Like, the language was hard for me for a while too. And I didn't know how to identify or how I wanted to speak about the community I was in. So
And I think, just to kind of borrow from what you just said too, like preference, I feel that it's all like the language is always changing. And I think for you, whatever is preference for you, if you're talking to someone, oh, I prefer this, like I feel that it's okay. We should, whatever it is, again, whether it's sexuality or whatever the umbrella is that you want to be referred to as, or whatever your preferences should be. That's just how it is.
I
This is
agree.
me.
The whole like pushback on pronouns. I think if somebody like my name's Katrina, if I wanted to be called Kat, wouldn't you honor that? Like, why is it so hard to call somebody them or they? If I mean, I know there's a grammatical whatever, but like, just be respectful. It's a respect thing. It's a yeah. It's a human thing. Be human. Like,
Be kind.
exactly. That's the moral of this.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fuck You 50s. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow and rate the podcast. And we would love to connect with you on Instagram. So be sure to follow us at the Fuck You 50s. The Fuck You 50s is hosted by Andrea Claire. See you next time.